Race.
I think we should because it's part of our everyday life, and if things aren't talked about, then they can't be fixed or get better.
Yes, because when you have those conversations and you voice your opinions and you get it out there, you may be able to change the mindset of others. But if you don't talk about racism, it doesn't make the problem go.
I feel like it's very necessary because not that many people know about racism, or they don't have the opportunity to talk about it in their regular classes.
Well, race is a topic that exists in our society today. So yes, we should discuss it. Otherwise, we will continue letting things happen that shouldn't necessarily be happening, whether it's on the news or within our schools. If we discuss race, then we can ease the tension that keeps rising nowadays.
I definitely think that's something we should discuss. If you just keep, wiping it under the carpet, is that an expression?
Sure.
Then I think at that point, then a lot of people become ignorant to it, and that's not going to serve any purpose later in life.
It's still very prominent in today's society, so talking about it, it needs to be brought up and discussed because it's not going away, it's not fixing itself. If we want to move past these barriers and these challenges people face in everyday life, we have to first discuss it and address the issue and not just ignore it.
It's absolutely important. We live in a society where these are big, hot topic issues. There's a reason they're controversial. It's because people don't disagree. So having those conversations is where other people can become educated so that when they are the people who are making the decisions, they can make decisions that benefit society as a whole. And we can't start people learning this stuff in college because they've already developed their ideologies. And so, we have to make sure that it's a part of where they develop their own ideologies from the beginning.
Absolutely. I think it's something that's very prevalent in society today. It's something that a lot of people think it's like taboo to not talk about. And it's kind of interesting how people have tried to avoid it, but it keeps coming up. So it's time that we talk about it, especially in classrooms where these people are going to grow up to be our future leaders, and they're going to be making decisions that affect all this stuff.
Yes, we should. Discussing difficult topics such as race really helps us to learn and to open up our minds and to be more accepting of the society that we live in. And just having debate just helps you to expand your knowledge as a person.
I learned how to be more open-minded, meaning how to take different sides when concerning a debate, because a lot of times what you'll have is, depending on the scenario, a lot of people go to one side. And so because of that, I've learned to kind of realize the pros and cons of both sides and kind of use that to my advantage.
Well, I know that tolerance is definitely a very, very important thing because most controversial topics have to do with whether one side tolerates another side.
And I get to view the world in a much more broader sense and learn to be more accepting about everyone and their own personal opinions.
Learning other people's points of views, because having other people just talk about things you don't normally bring up in casual conversation, it makes you realize how different everyone is and how they think and learn and just see things in the world.
I think a part of having debates in class gives you a perspective that you may not have seen before. It lets you hear a point of view that you may not have thought of yourself, because humans naturally are a little bit more closed-minded. We only see what we think. So these classroom debates lets you hear what other students around you also think.
So this is an opportunity for everyone to kind of understand each other, why certain people believe in certain things, why certain people have different ideas, and it's interesting to understand everyone's perspective on something.
Just basically there's a lot of ideas on so many different topics, things that you necessarily wouldn't think of yourself, but then it's almost kind of eye-opening when you learn about how other people think of things. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
I think that people can kind of get stuck in their own bubble with their own opinions if they don't branch out and hear what other people have to say. So having these discussions and debates about conversations like race, religion, controversial topics like capital punishment, rape, stuff like that, this really helps people develop their own opinions beyond what they were told and what they were taught. And so the debates and discussions are where people really evolve and develop their own opinions.
So getting to talk about religion or race or politics in general helps me learn more about the world I'm living in.
Yes, there is still racism in our society, and while it might not be as extreme as racism in the past, it is still present and it is still a real problem that exists in our world.
I think it is. I think people think that it might not be because things have gotten better, but if you keep looking back in the past, at the time, people didn't think race was a problem, but then once you get into the future, people realize that it was a problem back then, so yeah, I think it still is.
I think it's everywhere. I think it's you can see it in the media by the way that the media treats different races, how it favors one race over the other, or even with gender, you can see the same thing. It's also in school, it's in just everywhere that you look. I think that you can see some form of racism taking place.
I definitely think there's still a problem with racism in our society. For example, all of the police brutality in Ferguson with Brown and New York with Eric Garner.
It's still very prominent. You see it every day. Like, there's prejudice. Everyone has a prejudice, whether they know it or not.
At school here, I can see it in the cafeteria, in the hallways, or things that I hear on the news. It's everywhere, and I think sometimes you just have to look for it, but it's there.
Sometimes when you read it on the news, you just sort of let it slide. But then when you discuss it, when you analyze the situations that are happening to us in the world today, you realize the effect that it actually has on our society and how much, if we ignore it, it'll get bigger and blow up.
We realize when we look at the world that we have right now, and we see that there are so many things that happened then that are still occurring today. I learned that nobody is ever right, that there's always a different kind of solution.
Everyone has the same rights because everyone is human regardless. And I think that that's something that people tend to forget because of the way that media portrays racial topics. But it's important to remember that at the end of the day, we're all human beings.
Now I'm recording.
Hello, students of Harvard.
Oh hey, didn't see you there.
What happened with that?
I'm just gonna keep rolling.
Okay, can we just take that part out?
Oh, come on, you're already nervous?
I'm not nervous, it just makes me more awkward.
We are still filming, so go ahead and give your answer and
What was the
hopefully...
question?